If you want to learn more about the monkey demons and Kenneth Hagin's made-up visions, please stay tuned for this episode of Digging Deeper. In order to detect the inconsistencies of the first vision we want to cover today, we need to understand Kenneth Hagin's basic beliefs on divine healing. So let's have a look at what Hagin writes in his book, Healing Belongs to Us. Healing is a gift like salvation, already paid for at Calvary. All we need to do is accept it. All we need to do is to possess the promise that is ours. As children of God, we need to realize that healing belongs to us. Hagin adds another important detail in the book, redeemed from poverty, sickness, and spiritual death. This is what he writes. Sickness and disease are not the will of God for his people. He does not want a curse to be upon his children because of their disobedience. He wants to bless them with health. So keep in mind what Hagin claims. First, because of what Christ accomplished on the cross, you can have physical healing by simply accepting it. Second, God never wants his children to be sick. But in one of Hagin's visions, both claims seem to be contradicted. According to Hagin, it was 1959 and he was holding a revival meeting in El Paso, Texas. This is when he accidentally slipped and hurt his elbow so severely that it was knocked out of place. Later, when Hagin was lying in the hospital, Jesus suddenly walked into the room, sat on a chair, and began to chat with him. Jesus then explained that this accident happened because of his disobedience. According to Hagin's Jesus, the problem was that Hagin put his teaching ministry before his prophetic ministry. And this is what he writes next. The Lord told me as he sat there by my hospital bed that he would restore 99% of the use of that arm. He said he was going to leave that 1% disability to remind me not to disobey him again, but to use the ministry he had given me. So here we have a situation that contradicts Hagin's own theology on divine healing. First of all, Hagin was not able to simply accept his full healing. His elbow was only 99% restored. Second, Jesus did not want Hagin's full health. Doesn't that contradict health and wealth theology? I would argue that these inconsistencies demonstrate that Hagin simply made up the vision in the hospital. Of course, I also think that Hagin's beliefs on divine healing are wrong, but this is not the topic of this video. Another vision that is demonstrably made up happened in 1952. Kenneth Hagin was kneeling beside a kitchen chair in the parsonage, and a white cloud suddenly enveloped him. Jesus then began to teach him for an hour and a half. By the way, Hagin often describes how Jesus visited him for 90 minutes. He probably uses this number because the Bible likewise uses repetitive numbers, and by giving a certain number significance, Hagin is able to suggest religious importance. But let's go back to the vision in the kitchen. While Jesus was teaching Hagin, a demon who looked like a little monkey suddenly ran in between them. Then the demon began to jump up and down, crying, "Yuckety yuck, yuckety yuck, yuckety yuck." Hagin couldn't hear a word of what Jesus was saying. And to our surprise, Jesus was not doing anything against the demon. At some point, that was too much for Hagin, and he commanded the demon to leave in the name of Jesus. And the little monkey creature ran off. But what is truly disturbing about this whole instance is what Jesus says afterwards. This is what Hagin writes. Jesus looked at me and said, If you hadn't done something about that, I couldn't have. And Jesus continues, unless believers do something about the devil, nothing will be done in a lot of areas. Wait a second. Jesus, who is the second member of the Trinity, does not have the authority to command a demon. Jesus, who is co-equal and co-eternal with the Father, is for some reason restricted in his power. So let's check what the New Testament has to say about the authority of the ascended and exalted Christ. A good place to start with is 1 Peter 3:22, which states that Jesus is at the right hand of God, having gone into heaven after angels and authorities and powers had been subjected to him. This verse clearly shows that Jesus has authority over everything. He is sitting on the throne at the right hand of the Father. Jesus also has power over the invisible world, including angelic entities and demons. Christ's supreme authority is reaffirmed in Ephesians 1:20-22, which state, He, that is the Father, raised him, that is Jesus, from the dead, and seated him at his right hand in the heavenly places, far above all rule and authority and power and dominion, and every name that is named, not only in this age, but also in the one to come. And he, the Father, put all things in subjection under his, that is Jesus' feet, and gave him as head over all things to the church. Notice how Paul explains that the authority of Christ is neither going to change in this age nor in the age to come. So Christ's supreme authority is immutable, continually. And here we run into a big issue. Hagin wants us to believe that Jesus taught him that the authority over the demonic was delegated to the church after the ascension. Hagin even puts words in Jesus' mouth. He claims that Jesus, in his vision, uses Mark 16:17 to teach that. Let's have a look at this verse. It says, "These signs will accompany those who have believed. In my name they will cast out demons." I think that most of my viewers will immediately notice that this verse is not saying anything about Jesus' currently restricted or lost authority. But even worse, the longer ending of Mark is most likely not even part of Mark's original writing. And this is not some liberal viewpoint. The longer ending of Mark includes the section that mentions snake handling, tongue-speaking, exorcism, and the drinking of poison. But what many don't know is that Mark 16 verses 9-20 do not appear in the two oldest manuscripts, that is the Codex Vaticanus and the Codex Sinaiticus. This is why it often appears in brackets in our Bibles. It is considered a textual variant and probably a later scribal addition. So I personally do not believe that the longer ending of Mark is original. And it is certainly not very intelligent to claim that Jesus used it in a vision to make a theological point. If you want to hear more about Kenneth Hagin's made-up visions, don't forget to watch part 1. Also, I would like to thank Michael, who gave me inputs for this video. Michael is a former Word of Faith pastor who studied personally under Kenneth Hagin at Rhema. But today he is warning people about the false teaching of this movement. Alright everyone, if you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up, share it with others, and subscribe to this channel. Have a blessed time and see you very soon.